So to make our covers, we need an outside cover paper, we need an inside liner paper, and then we need the actual thing that we're wrapping. So this is some chipboard that will give it a nice hardcover effect. It's still a little flexible, it's not super hard. So what I am going to do for this is I have my outside paper larger than my chipboard by 1 inch all the way around. That's going to allow me to wrap this paper around so that it covers the corners and the edges and wraps over them onto the inside. Once it's wrapped around, this smaller one is smaller than the chipboard by 1/2 inch all the way around. So we have 1 inch extra in this direction and 1/2 inch less in this direction, meaning this flap will be underneath this one. This paper will overlap that by just a little bit. It'll help keep things secure and tidy, and you'll still see some of the front on the inside, which I like. That's a style choice that I like. Some people do cut both the same size and wrap the inside one first all the way around, and then the outside one over it so that you get the top part is over this instead of this part under it. It's really just a style choice. Either one is fine. There are lots of glue options that you could use. Honestly, regular Elmer's glue is great if you spread it out nice and thin. I do like this Yes paste. It's really chunky, but it's acid-free, meaning it won't make your paper yellow or anything over time. You do have to spread it out with a spreader or even your finger. You can see it's really thick. It's a paste. And it is nice and flexible. It's good for all-purpose, like making things stick flat. It'll be strong enough for our cover sheets. So when you take this, you use the little glue spreader, and don't get it all over the place. It's going to want to, so you just want a really thin, even layer. I'm using some newsprint as a barrier on the back so that I can clean up after myself, and I'm going to cover this whole thing, okay? All right, so I have my nice even layer. See how there's no big glops, it's just kind of shiny? That's all you want. A little goes a long way with the Yes paste. So I'm going to get my gluey papers out of the way, and I'm going to put my cover sheet facing the direction. So this is the good side. That side is going to face down. And now I'm going to line this up in the middle as best as I can. And I'm just going to press that down, make sure it's nice and stuck. Now this is a good thing to do. You can flip it over, take your bone folder, and make sure you get any air bubbles or pockets out. Just scrape, scrape, scrape. That's going to help it really adhere and be seamless. If you ended up having too much paste at any point, that also would help kind of push it towards the edges. Before I fold and paste the flaps, we do want to trim the corners a little bit so that they aren't super bulky. So some people cut a straight triangle. I like to have it kind of just not quite triangular. And I'm going to leave a little tiny bit of space here that I'm not cutting so that the thickness of the board doesn't poke through. So it's almost like a triangle, but not quite. So I'm going to do that to all 4 corners. Again, leave that little space there so that the thickness of the board doesn't poke through later. All right. And I'm going to pre-fold them just a little bit so that the bend is there before I put the glue on. So I'm taking the bone folder and I'm running it along the edge. I always like to work with the 2 opposite sides together. and then I'll fold these ones on there. So I'm just giving it a little crease. We're going to do this again once the paste is there. And just to show you, you can see how they overlap just a little bit, making a nice corner. So I'm going to apply paste to here, 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 and here, just like I did before. Do the short edge for you, and then I'll do the other ones off camera. Nice and even. Don't forget to put down your scrap papers like I did, just in case you don't get it accidentally anywhere else. And if you end up using your finger to spread out the paste, that's fine. Just make sure you wash your fingers off before you start touching the front, because you don't want this glue to be all over the place. All right, so I'm gonna roll this short one on. Again, I'm gonna use my bone folder to make sure I get the edges, and then I'm gonna slide in and onto my chipboard. And I've got a nice and secure folded flap, okay? So there you go. I'm gonna repeat that over here, and then I'm gonna do the 2 long edges. I'll show you when it's all done. All right, so now you can see I have all 4 flaps nice and secure. And just to point out, I mentioned in the last bit that I folded the short ends first, right? Both short ends first, and then I folded these over. That just keeps the crisscross part kind of even when you go forward. It doesn't really matter if it's the short end first or the long end first. It's up to you. I just think it looks nice and neat if you do 2 and then 2. And again, don't forget to use your bone folder. If there's any extra glue, you'll get rid of that and you'll smooth things out. All right, let's apply the liner. So the liner paper is going to overlap our cover paper just a little bit in all directions. So mine is going to be like this, and I've chosen a nice coordinating color. So just like before, but instead of applying the paste here, I'm going to apply it to here. Alternately, you know it's going to cover all of this. If your paper is really thin, you could put the paste on here to fill this part, and then just put a nice edge on the more delicate paper. That's a good solution if you're worried about this paper getting wrinkly. All right, so again, small thin amounts. You're gonna make sure you spread it all the way out. If you do the center first, be aware you don't want to go all the way over. Just keep it in the middle. And I'll show you once I got that part done. So I've applied a thin layer of glue around the edge of my liner paper is more delicate, so I've just done the outside edge. And then on the inside, you can see I already put glue, the paste, on the cardboard, the chipboard part. So I know it's going to be nice and secure by the time I'm finished. So I'm going to flip this over, line it up. And again, use your bone folder and burnish to make sure that it's secure, and also to get any air bubbles out. And now, and any extra glue too will come off the side. Make sure you wipe that away if you do. But now you have a really nice wrapped bookboard cover.